Everyone, Jamie again. I just wanted to show my Herbert Johnson hat. I'd not do like an unboxing video or anything of that nature, mainly because, I mean, frankly, I got it. God, I want to say 3 weeks ago. I just driven back from a different state, and I was just kind of worn out and tired, so I didn't want to do an unboxing video or anything else. Plus, I mean, how many things have we seen unboxed at this point, right? But anyway, so this is my hat from Herbert Johnson right here. I apologize. I'm actually going to move the screen in front of me so I can actually see what I'm doing. So I had this created by Herbert Johnson directly. I'll show you kind of the inside there. You can see the logo, obviously inside there. Kind of their information. The sweatband. I do have it. I did put one little piece of padding in there. Some of this foam that I actually got from a Kubra. But anyways, I'll kind of explain that in a second. But I took advantage of Herbert Johnson's sale that they were doing back I want to say, what was it, back around Christmas for Christmas Eve, I think it was. They did 10% off of all the poets, and I took that advantage to go ahead I took advantage of that and went ahead and put one on order for myself. So my hat's a 55.5 inch size. I ordered it a half size larger than what I measured at, mainly to account for the turn in the hat. So obviously a standard hat would kind of be like this, right? Like the bow would be almost to the left side, and this would be kind of the way it is. Well, I had the Raiders turn put into it so that it kind of, has the, kind of gets that swoop going on with the brim here, and puts the bow a little bit more in line with kind of the corner of the eye, for lack of a better way of saying it. So I talked with Michelle, who's the master hatter over there at Herbert Johnson, and I kind of let her know, hey, look, I kind of want to, kind of the version from the Ravens bar scene when he first sees Marion again, because that's one of my favorite parts of it. I apologize about that. There's an email coming through. One of my absolute favorite parts of the movie, and so I wanted my hat to kind of fit that scene. With that said, I had it done in the standard sable color that they have. I had it done in rabbit to match the original hat as well. For me, I was very much about trying to go as original as possible. They are coming out with a 40th anniversary this year. I have no idea what that's like. I don't know what's going into that particular hat, but for me, this is what I was after. So again, I had it done in a 55.5 to kind of take into account the the kind of the oblongness of it and kind of turning it. My thought process is, well, if I go slightly smaller, when you turn it, it's going to take up some of that slack, basically enough. And for the most part, did. I can actually wear this without the little padding in here, but I've gotten so used to my Kubras at this point being kind of like a tighter fit that this being a little looser on my head, I wasn't exactly thrilled with. Or not thrilled with, that isn't the right word, but that I wanted it a little bit tighter. So as you can see here, just kind of give you a little up close kind of view of it. The ribbon or the hat rim works just fantastic. Like, she did such a great job on that. The pinch is exactly what I was kind of looking for. I did take a quick measurement. It is 4.5 inches from here to here, which actually matches exactly what my Kubras are sitting at. Now, I know open crown, it's obviously a little bit bigger. With me being a smaller headed individual, having it done in the 55 or 55.5 as mine was, you really should have kind of like a shorter, at least a slightly shorter crown height, especially for, the overall kind of dimensions of the hat. At least, I mean, that's just strictly my opinion. I think if it was a 5-inch tall hat, it would look very, very tall on my head. I'm 5'7" on a good day, I guess. And I have, obviously not that big of a head and not really like a long oblong face like what Harrison Ford, has, or however it was referred to. Anyways, so just kind of go through it, and I just kind of detail a little bit more. Obviously I can tell there's some sort of stiffener up in here because it obviously is holding its shape extremely well. Like I haven't crushed this or done anything else with it. And actually I've only worn this hat outside one time, mainly because it is starting, even already here in February, it's already starting to kind of warm up here. And because these hats are not exactly cheap. I decided that I just didn't want to, I don't know. This isn't the kind of hat I want to bash up or do anything else with. Like, this is a really nice hat. Like, it's really, really nice. And so for me, I think this is one of those things that I would rather have, cherish, wear out a little bit more on special occasions, or, the occasional, hey, I'm going to go in a full suit up indie outfit kind of concept. So just kind of show you the inside of it again. I did, you can see the padding I shoved back there. I don't think I stuck it. No, I didn't stick it in place. I actually literally just kind of pushed it in there. And it's held in place with this, and that's fine. For me, that's all I needed. Now, one thing I did do with this particular hat is I used a Western brim cutter and cut down 1/8 of an inch off of the brim. On my head in particular, the brim being the full size brim, or the full size brim that Harrison Ford had, it looked very large on my head. And for me, it wasn't really, it didn't exactly fit me properly. It just, like I said, just seemed a little big, especially with, unfortunately, I took the two Akubras I already have, which are one's light gray, one's dark gray. I actually took a 1/4 inch off of both of those hats. And it seems to fit that hat really well. If I took that much off of this one, I think it would actually just ruin it. I don't think it would look right at all. It would look way, way, way closer to like a Last Crusade kind of brim size. And that's obviously not what we're going for. But in with this particular hat, this particular crown height, and with the size, the 1/8 off was perfect. As soon as I did it, I put the hat back on, I was like, done. That's perfect for me. I'm completely happy with the way it is. I did speak with Michelle at Herbert Johnson, because she saw it on my Instagram that I had done that, and said, going forward, all I need to do is let them know that, and they'll trim it down to whatever size I actually want it to be. Because I do have plans to get a Last Crusade hat from them at some point. I just haven't quite gotten there yet. And then, of course, I would like to get one of the travel hats, whether it's the Clipper one, which have to be no, Seaplane's beaver, the Clipper's rabbit, but I like the seaplane color a little bit better. So, anyways, unfortunately, I didn't know what size brim I wanted. Like, I had no idea really what was going to look best on me at that particular time. And with this particular hat, I wanted just to wait. I needed it here as flawless as possible. Like, I wanted it just to be here, try it on, see what works for me, and then make adjustments accordingly, which is, like I said, I went a little bigger because I know I can always pat it down. I didn't want to risk going with my exact size and letting my hair grow out, or putting on a little bit of weight, or any of the other things where all of a sudden the hat doesn't fit anymore. I had a hat a few years ago, I want to say like 10, 11, 12 years ago, from Todd's Costumes, which I was pretty sure was a mass-produced hat, or at least a factory-made hat, and that one got wet got wet. I don't remember if it was on the inside, outside, whatever, rain, whatever, and that thing shrunk up to the point where I couldn't even wear it anymore. Like, it was so uncomfortable on my head that I ended up I think I threw it out. I've been trying to figure out what happened to that hat, but it's long gone. But anyways, look, at this point, for the people who don't know, Herbert Johnson was the original manufacturers of the hats. Most people, especially if you're in the indie costume world, you understand that. There was just a recent podcast that came out. It sounds like, straight up, Herbert Johnson did the hats on all 3 of the original films, regardless of anything that I've seen or read on the internet. All the hats that have been handled by people in the archives and private collections have all been Herbert Johnson hats. So, when you get something that was manufactured by the original people, you are getting, while it's not directly movie related, you're getting this little tiny bit of what that was, whether it's the Wested jacket, the Alden boots, the Herbert Johnson hat, kind of et cetera. You're getting just a little piece of it, especially if they try and make it as close to the original style as possible. I think that always is, you get just something kind of special, I guess, and as a collector, or whatever, I think it's a good thing. So would I recommend it? Absolutely. A million trillion %. Would I rebuy it again? Absolutely. Without question. I think it's a beautiful hat. I think being able, again, going to the original people, the original makers that made it, you're going to get it as close as possible to what was correct as what was seen on screen, for lack of a better way of saying it, especially now with them like hand making the hats. At this point, I mean, it's kind of hard. I mean, obviously, I always want to support fan made stuff. I do a lot of fan made stuff myself as well. But in this particular case, like, this is such a, more of an intimate kind of purchase. Like, you're literally buying something made to you, made to your specifications, that it's entirely up to you on how you want to do it. And sorry, I'm just seeing the questions over here on the right hand side. I apologize. Yes. So the way I display the hat is I actually have it sitting on I ended up getting a short acrylic clear stand from Tom Spina Designs. Tom Spina Designs has multiple display pieces that they can do, whether it's mannequins or head forms or whatever they want to do. I ended up going with one of the short ones. That's just a standard kind of hat stand or helmet stand, or however you want to look at it. It basically just sits on there in my office here, and for me that works out pretty well. I think it looks good. I like looking over and seeing it. I have the whip kind of wrapped around it, which is kind of cool too in its own right. I actually want to get a hat box for it because I just want to make sure it stays as good as possible, as long as possible. I understand that, there's going to be times it's going to lose its shape and things of that nature, especially in kind of the brim. The brim will get a little out of shape here and there. When it actually arrived fairly flat. Not a Herbert Johnson issue, not a Michelle issue for sure, and not even really a shipping issue. It's you're talking about something that's boxed in a box that sits, takes probably a week or two or so to get from the UK to the States. And then I live in an environment that's fairly humid anyways. So then you kind of combine those things, and, hat sits around inside the box in a humid environment. I mean, eventually it's going to kind of lose a little bit of shape. So super, super easy to correct. I actually have a little like clothing steamer I bought when I was trying to reshape my Kubras. And I simply hit it very briefly with that, and then just kind of reshaped it until I got it to where I wanted it to be at to get it as close as possible to the way Michelle had it styled before it got shipped out. So, and brim wise, I think it looks exactly the way I want it to look. Again, it has that turn built into it, which I really like. Which, again, if you are not familiar with that, and quite a few of the hats and Raiders, I think almost the vast majority of them, the hat had a slight turn to it, and it was pinched right there. And so what it did was it kind of created this oblong effect. So where a hat would be kind of, roundish, I guess you could say. When Harrison Ford turned it, it basically made it kind of do this, and it kind of stretched it apart a little bit more, which then gave the brim more of a swoop. And, there's a few other things that kind of happened because of it. And actually, if I look on this side in a mirror, right, so this side looks like it's a little longer back here than say this side is for me. Now, it may not look that way on camera, but in the mirror, it's pretty obvious, because if you turn it, one side's going to be just a little bit shorter, one side's going to be a little bit longer, so you can kind of see that whole thing. So, anyways, again, highly recommend. They aren't a cheap purchase, but if you look at what other fan-made hats are being made for, typically a rabbit hat from Herbert Johnson is going to be roughly the price of what a beaver hat's going to be from a private maker. Beaver does last longer, that is true, but the real hats were rabbit, so it really kind of depends on what you want per se. Again, this was a real bucket list thing for me. I really, really, really had wanted a Herbert Johnson hat and the Alden boots, and at some point I probably should do a review on the Alden boots. I haven't even done that yet. So for me, it became, I went through a period where I'm like, that's it. I'm gonna buy all the indie stuff I've ever kind of wanted, and that's what I did. And yeah, again, fantastic hat. I do plan on adding, like I said, I want to add one of the Last Crusades hats. I want to add either the seaplane or the clipper hat, and I most likely am going to either get one of the factory hats from either at Vintage, or maybe another Akubra, or even a Christie's hat, something that I can really just bash on and dirty up and kind of weather it and things of that nature to make it look certain ways in certain scenes. But I'm not going to do that with a hat that was this expensive and this nice. So anyways, any questions, any comments, feel free to leave them. I know the last review I did, especially of the jacket, did not turn out as great as it could have been. I apologize. I was having some lighting issues here in the room or in the office here. And yeah, So apologize about that. Anyways, let me know, and stay tuned. I will do a review of the Alden boots, which has got to be my absolute favorite thing I have added to my wardrobe in the last year, outside of anything else. And I'm not talking about just indie stuff, just in general. So, and I will kind of get to why you want to spend that kind of money on a pair of boots or a pair of shoes. And we'll kind of go into more details about that. So either way, thanks for watching. And again, feel free to leave comments, send me any questions, anything you want. Thanks, y'all.